Can you see my screen, Shabab?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me just revise quickly what we have done so far in this chapter. This chapter talks about database storage, how to store your tables to disk. In short, database storage. And we covered the following things. First of all, we covered disk. And what did we say about disk? We say disk contains what? Contains platters, and CDs in short. It also contains tracks. It contains sectors. And logically, it contains cylinders. Sorry for the handwriting, Malish. It also contains blocks. Do you have any question on this, Shabab? So a disk has many platters, and each platter has many tracks, and each track has many sectors, and so on, yani. And many tracks which are numbered the same number, they belong to the same cylinder. A number of sectors, we call them blocks. They can be one sector, it can be two sectors, it can be 4, it can be 8, 16, 32, anyhow, 2 to the power of n. And you decide how many sectors will be each block. So this is what you did about disks. Any question, Yashabab?
Clear.
Very good. After that one, I told you to envision the disk like this. Don't think about platters, tracks, and sectors and so on. Think about them only in terms of blocks. So a disk is divided into blocks. This is how you have to think about it. Normally, a block is a number of sectors. Block and block and block and block. And so many blocks. Let's assume I have millions of blocks. And I have a table like this table, which is a student table, let's assume, or employee table, or population table, whatever it is. Let's assume these are stored in blocks. So how can we store them in blocks? We can store them in 3 different ways. So the second topic was storage. تكلمنا عن storage. And what did I say about the storage? There are 3 ways to store. The first way is heap. Let's assume that for my table, I need, let's say, 20 blocks. I need 20 blocks for this table. So what does heap mean? Heap means simply take the first rows, they are not sorted, put them in the first block, اللي بعد in the first block, so take 20 blocks. But you really don't know where everyone is. You just know they are in 20 blocks, but you don't know where every record is. Yani. The second one we talked about was sequential, sorted. What it means is, first of all, sort the data according to certain attributes. For example, according to ID, or according to first name, or according to last name, and so on. Then after you sort them, so first of all sort them, and then after you sort them, then store them in the 20 blocks. Yani. Now they are sorted. Now because they are sorted, you can do what kind of search, Shabab? You can do binary search, isn't it? If they are not sorted, you have to do linear search. Linear math, you have to go block by block by block until you find the person you are looking for. Because if I'm looking for a person, for a particular person, like I'm saying, select the row or star from the employee table, where, for example, I'm looking for a particular employee, where employee ID or SSN, whatever it is equals to 1111. So I'm looking for one person. So I don't know where that person is. He can be in any of the 20. So if I'm using heap, if I'm lucky, he will be in the first one. If I'm not lucky, he will be in the last one. But on the average, it will consume how much? If this is n20, my n is 20. Or let me call it blocks, let me call it B instead of N, sorry. B is better. let's assume that B is 20 معناتها 20 blocks. B is 20. B stands for number of blocks is 20. So how much do you think this will consume if I use heap to store the data in B blocks? لو استخدمت linear search قلت how many it will consume on the average? B over 20 صحيح؟ B over 2 sorry, isn't it? Because I'm using what? I'm using linear search. What about if I use sequential search? In sequential search, I can use binary search, isn't it? So it will consume log of what? Log of 2B, where B is the number of blocks. So in case of 20, what is log 2 of 20, Shabab? What is the number that will give me 2 times 2? How many times I have to multiply it to get 20? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, at least 5 times. So this will give me 5 times. Yani. So this, at least if I use sequential search, I can find anyone. Give me any select statement, I will find anybody in 5 disk blocks. And each disk block, to read it, it will consume 8 milliseconds. 5 times 8 معناتها 40 milliseconds. Okay, which is 0.04 of a second. Yani. Okay, which is quite fast. Did you get my, do you have any question up to this point, Shabab? Okay, let me ask you, if you don't have to give me a question. What is the best case when I use, can you tell me? The best case.
Of the heap.
When the search element is the first element you compare.
Exactly. The best matter, the first block that I bring, the person is already هناك موجود خلاص. I am lucky. So the best case is one, say, one disk block فقط, say. That's 8 milliseconds. Are you with me, Shabab?
Yes.
What about the worst case?
10.
Log n.
Sorry, now
The
20.
worst.
20.
The worst
20.
is how much? Huh?
20.
20. I have to read every block. I will not find him in the first block. Then I will go read the second block. I will not find him. Then see. So in the worst case, I will read all the 20 and I will find him in the last one. So this is the worst case. The average is how much?
10.
10. It makes sense. Maybe I will find him after 5 readings, after 15 readings. Maybe I will find him after 18 readings. Maybe I'll find him after 2 readings of a block. So on the average, it will be around 10 blocks. What about for sequential? What is the best?
First, one block.
First, exactly. So for example, if I have 20, I will start from block number 10. طبعا دائما في binary search we start from the middle. صحيح يا شباب? Then if I have 20 of them, I will start from number 10. Then number 10 will tell me go this or go that. So I will drop half of them. So each time I'm going to drop half. The first time I'm going to drop half of them. I will drop another half. So I will only be left with 1/4 of them فقط. معي ولا إيه? Then again, I will drop half of one of this, and then I will be left only with 1/8 of them. Then I will drop half, with one of 16 of them, and so on. So in this case, if I have 20, I will automatically, after 5 searches, I will find him. This is the average. But the best is, maybe I will find him in block number 10. أول واحدة جربتها 10. Then I will find him there خلاص 1. What about the average يا شباب?
Average is 5.
Average is 5 is the worst.
Oh, sorry. No, it's log
5 log 2b is this is the worst. فهمت علي? The average will be what? 5 over 2, around 3 يعني صحيح؟
2.5.
Yeah, exactly 2.5 which is 3 يعني. Okay, because you cannot read 2.5 عشان كده نخليها 3. So average is 3 هنا, average is 10 هنا. I'm talking about 20 disk blocks يا شباب الحين. If you okay. So in linear search the worst case is B. The average case is B over 2. The best case is 1 صحيح? In binary search, the worst case is log 2 of B. Average is log 2 of B divided by 2. And the best case is 1. Do you have any question here before I go forward, Yashima? Any question?
So is there any case where we use heap?
Heap, oh yeah, in fact, heap is the one which is popular, but together with indexing, مش لحاله. and which we are going to cover inshallah in chapter next chapter. Yeah, next chapter.
So there is other factors other than
exactly.
performance.
On the top of heap, you build an index. So in fact, most of the databases, they use heap. So they don't sort them at all, they don't care. But what they do is on the top of that, they build something called index, which we are going to cover in the next chapter, inshallah. Okay? So wait until next chapter to understand it, inshallah.
Okay.
Doctor.
Yes, please.
Yes. So in heap we only use linear search.
In heap, you can only, if you don't have any index, which we are going to talk about next class, yes, you have to do linear search. You don't have any other choice.
But if I assume that all the data exist, like from 1 to 20, can't we use?
No, these are blocks.
Select?
20 blocks. هذول blocks مش data.
Yeah, the blocks.
Yeah.
From 1 to 20.
Yes.
Can we use the select algorithm?
The select what?
Algorithm.
No. So the point is, what kind of algorithm can you use except linear? You don't have no other algorithm. In fact, what they do is you write SQL like this, صحيح? You write SQL بالطريقة هذه أنت. But what the DBMS is really using is something totally different. He's using a C program. So he converted your SQL into a C, which we are going to cover inshallah next week. Okay?
Okay.
So the C algorithm uses traversal, uses B+3, uses hash, uses there are different ways to implement select statement. هنتكلم عنه inshallah next class. Yes, I will come to your question inshallah next class. Not next class, next week maybe. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So the next 2 weeks, in fact, the last 3 chapters لو لاحظت عليهم, we are talking about this chapter, and the next chapter we are talking about physical database design. Physically, how is my data organized in disk? So this is part of the physical database design. And we are going to...
Doctor, we're not learning the physical, the heap and the structure that you gave us, this chapter. These are not physical.
These are physical. This is how physically you put your data, صحيح? So physically, where is your record? Physically, in which block are they? How do you store them? So this is physical database questions.
Okay.
And the storage is physical when we say sequential.
It is physical, physical. So when I say heap, معناته إيش? Physically, I'm storing them, but I don't know where everyone is. معي ولا? So physically, in the disk, physically they are taken 20 blocks.
Okay. And
So this is physical.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So this chapter and the next chapter, they are really physical database design. So you can choose heap, which is a physical database design, or you can choose sequential, which is another physical database design, or we can use also hash. هتكلم عنه بعد شوية hash, which is another physical database design. So you remember I told you in the beginning of the semester we talked about R, which is requirement, then conceptual design, then logical design, then physical design. So these chapters, in fact, they are talking about physical database design, okay? How do you organize your data for disk? Okay, this is physical database design. And this is mainly done by DBA. They are very good DBA at this, database administrators.
So, I mean, databases are not already physically designed, by like a third party.
No. The DBA is the one who decides whether to make them heap, whether to make them sequential, whether to make them hash.
Okay.
So this is part of the DBA job. He will say this table, maybe it's better to use heap for this table. For this table, maybe it's better to use the sequential. For this table, maybe it's better to use مثلا hash. So this is a decision that's taken by a DBA. He will look at each table, how it is manipulated, and then from the manipulations, then he will decide what to do it. So it's the job of the physical database design. So this is decided by the DBA. So the DBA has to be good in physical database design.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you, Shabab, inshallah?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So a quick question now. Let's follow. Let me ask you a quick question just to make sure that you understood what I'm saying here. After that one, we'll go to a much more difficult one. Let's say if I have if my data is in 100 blocks, quick, 100 blocks, and the 100 block. If I'm using, for example, heap, this B is 100 blocks. If I'm using heap, if I'm using sequential, then the simple question is the following. Okay, this is a typical exam question. Give me the best possible, the worst number of blocks I am going to read for a select statement, which select only 1%. Worst and the average. And the average. Heap, what is the best?
One.
The same is also sequential.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe the first block, maybe I'm lucky I will find him هناك يعني خلاص. I don't have to look for other blocks يعني. So the best is 1, of course. What is the worst for the heap?
100.
100. What about for sequential? You have to use binary sets, isn't it?
Yeah, 50.
50?
Yeah. 50 no.
No, it's not.
Log 2 100.
4.
Give me the number which is what?
4.
I am looking for n صحيح which will give me greater or equals to 100. هذا معناته
7.
So I'm looking what is the n? What is the number n اللي بيعطيني هذا. This is what log 2n means يا شباب. So what is n which will give me greater or equal to 100?
7.
7. So what
But
is
over 2.
huh?
Over 2. Oh, okay, that's the average.
For the average, yeah. For the average will be 7 over 2, which is 4. صحيح. طبعا you have to take the roof هنا. لأنه I cannot reach 3.5 blocks. I have to reach 4 blocks. Okay. So this is 4. For this one is what is 50. So this is the worst is 7. The worst is 100. I hope this makes it a good summary for you. Is that okay, Shabab? Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So now I'm going to add another one here, which is hash. So this will spend the rest of the course, of the rest of the class today on hash inshallah. Now hash. Let's talk about hash. نركز في الهاش. Hash. Also, I can store my tables in hash. Suppose I have an employee table which consumes 20 blocks. I can store it using hash. Now we have 2 kinds of hash يا شباب. انت اخذتوا hash في ICS 202. Do you still remember your hash يا شباب?
Yes.
Now the hash that you took in ICS 202, it's memory based hash. So you assume the data is already in memory. But the hash that we are going to use here is disk-based hash because our data is in disk. I'm going to store my data in disk. So in this chapter, we are talking disks. We are not talking about memory here at all. So we have 2 kinds of hashes. We have in-memory hash, which is internal hash. This is what you took in ICS 202, internal hash. But the technique is the same. Internal hash. Internal simple means memory-based hash, RAM-based hash, okay? سميها RAM-based hash. RAM-based hash. And you think the data is in RAM. This is what you took in ICS 202. Is it ICS 202 اللي أخذتوا الهاش يا شباب ولا فين؟ ولا 201؟
Yes, 202.
Now.
في ترم MP يا دكتور.
Exactly. So
the hash forget it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
صراحة زيادة.
ها؟
أقول أخذناها MB فيعني موضوع ناسينا شوي.
I will assume that you don't remember this one, inshallah. I will assume that. Yeah. The next one is the one we are going to discuss today. It's called external hash. They call it external because it is outside the memory. It is in disk. So we consider it external hash, ext hash. Now in external hash, we have also another two selections. We have dynamic hash. I don't know that I will have enough time to explain all of this, but I'll do my best. And we have a static hash. So هتكلم عن static hash, هتكلم عن dynamic hash, but في dynamic hash عندنا two algorithms. One is called extendable hash, والثاني linear hash. Linear hash. So what am I going to do today? First of all, I'm not going to talk about internal hash at all because I assume that you have taken it, so I'm not going to talk about this one at all. I'm going to talk about external hash. This is for ICS2, ICS3 to 4, our course, database course. We use external hash for databases. So I'm going to show you what dynamic means and what static means. Then after I explain dynamic, I'll talk about extendable hashing and the linear hashing. But today I'm going to talk about static hash. Hopefully I will finish the static hash, and next class I will finish this too, inshallah. So let's concentrate on static hash. Is that okay, Shabab? Is it clear what we are going to do? What happened?
Yes.
Very good. Fantastic. Okay. So let me go and explain it step by step. Assume this is your data and the table. Assume your table will take around 20 disk blocks. 20 disk blocks. B is 20 يعني اعتبرها B equals to 20. Okay شباب? This is your B, okay? Blocks. How do I save them using static hash? This is the first hash اللي هتكلم عنه, static hash. طبعا when you are using hash you have to have a function. لازم يكون لك function. So we call a hash function. تذكروا الهاش function? استخدمت hash functions إن شاء الله تذكروا. So this is what we are doing. مود ممكن فاكر إن هنستخدم مود يكون أسهل يعني. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the attributes هنا. اختار one of the attributes. Let's say تذكر الemployee table عندها how many attributes? عندها 10 attributes. One of the attributes is called SSN صحيح تذكروا? And one of the first name عندي, last name عندي. So for the hash function you have to choose one of the attributes. Let's choose SSN. Then what you have to do is you have to use your hash function, then apply it to the SSN. And this one will give you a block number. Block number. Let me call it BNO, block number. So what I mean is the following. What I mean is you will have, this is your disk. You have many blocks for disk, many of them, and each block is numbered. قلنا المرة اللي فاتت تتذكروا. Blocks are numbered. So this is what I'm going to do. I need around 20 blocks. صحيح? So I am going to have an array of 20 blocks. So this is an array يا شباب. هذا زيادة من عندي array. This array also, let's assume it contains what? It contains 20 entries. It has 20 elements. It's an array of 20 elements. What does it contain? This array contains block numbers. Block number 5, block number 33, block number 18, block number 27, block number 60, block number 512, block number 98, and so on. These are block numbers, okay? Why don't we have this block number sorted, Shabab? Because we don't know. The point is, I will have a file, it will take these 2 blocks, then I delete the file, I will get back these 2 blocks. and so on. So because when you create a file or when you delete a file, so the blocks will not be sequential anymore يعني. فهمت علي? So you don't have the blocks empty sequentially. So that's why you will have, so this يعني you will have the blocks يعني you will have a file هنا maybe occupied by a file هنا, maybe this will be occupied, maybe this will be empty, maybe this will be occupied. So عشان كده those who are not occupied like this one, like this one, like this one متبعثرين هم. So when you are going to store your table, you have to look for those which are empty. You cannot save in this blocks because this blocks has been used by other tables or by other files. فهمتوا يا شباب بس what I'm talking about here?
Yes.
Very good. So let me just delete this because this is the wrong information I gave you here. معلش. This will give you one of these 20 numbers. So these numbers are, this is index number 0. أنت أخذتوا arrays طبعا صحيح from 0 to 19 معي ولا شباب؟ But this is array of pointers. The pointers means disk numbers. So these are block numbers. BNO معناته block numbers. Now let's take a particular SSN. Let's take hash SSN which is 111. Yes, please.
So the disk has more than 20 blocks.
Definitely. It has more than, it has millions of blocks.
Okay.
It has millions of blocks, not only 20. And I want to save my table in the disk. صحيح?
Okay, clear now. Okay.
Very good. Now what I will do is I will create an array of empty blocks. So 5 is empty, 23 is empty, 18 is empty, and so on and so on. And this will be given to me by the DBMS. The DBMS will talk to the operating system and he knows which blocks are empty. So yes. Automatically it will give you 20 empty blocks. حياتك على طول. Then, okay, after he gives me this 20, then how am I going to save this? Let's say I have 1,000 blocks and هنا 1,000 records and هنا. Suppose عندي قول suppose عندي 100 بلوك 100 records عندي قول عندي 100 records مثلا مش 100 records. So if I have 100 records and I have only 20 blocks to store them, so I can store 5 per block. So I will put 5 هنا و5 هنا و5 هنا و5 هنا في اللي فاضيين يعني في اللي عطاني 5 في 5 5 في 23 5 في 18 and so on and so on. So this is how I am going to store my what? My records, my employee records in the disk. هل هذا سؤال واضح يا شباب ولا لا؟
Yes, clear.
Now let's use a hash function. أنا حاعطيكم hash function which is this one. خذ أي SSN المود function زي ما قال واحد من الشباب. A mode function. Give me the SSN mode of 20 معي ولا ايه؟ Oh, sorry, let me put it this way maybe. SSN mode what? Mode 20, which is the same. هذا امسح هذا عشان ما ألخمكم. So this is my hash function. My hash function is just the mode function مثلا out of 20. Okay, give me any SSN mode 20, then this will give me a number between what and what يا شباب؟ هذا الريميندر صحيح؟
From 0 to 19.
0 to 19, very good. So take any SSN. ممكن ناخذ SSN 111 mode 20. So أخذت أول record هنا عايز أوديه على الديسك. So I will take the first record. I will take its SSN. SSN is, let's say it is 111 mode 20. This will give me how much يا شباب؟
9.
11 صحيح؟ It will 11, yes. So it means I have to go to position number 11. Let's say this is position number 11. This is from position number 0 to 19 عندك. Go and store it in block number 60. فحيوديها, let's assume this is block number 60 مثلا يعني. So it will take this first record and it will store it in block number 60. هل هذا واضح يا شباب؟
Yes.
Now do the same thing for the second one. let's say the second one, the what they call the SSN of the second record is 146 مثلا يعني. So take 146 more 20 بيعطينا قديش؟
6.
16 say
6.
16. 6, yes, 6, thank you. 6, then I will go to position number 6 هنا في الارray, assume this is position number 6, put it in block number 18, هيحطها في block number 18. Then do it for the third record and so on and so on and so on. بالطريقة هذه, this is how you store them. If you do this, this is called static hash. Why do they call it static? Because you already decided the array اللي هنا of pointers is only 20. خلاص, you cannot change it. You have to live with 20. عشان كده 20 you decided, it's pre-decided. So if you pre-decide the size of your array of pointers, then we call this one a static hash. So this technique we call it static hash. Any question here, Shabab?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, please.
Assuming that when we are filling, one of the block has been filled.
Excellent question. His question is very good. Now, a block is limited, Shabab, صحيح? A block is what? Is limited. What happens, let's assume that a block takes maximum of 5 records. To take 5 records فقط يعني. And when I hash it, let's say all of them, they came into, many of these records, they hash it into the same block number 60 مثلا. Yes. Now, 7 of them, they were hashed to block number 60. But block number 60 can take only 5. What shall I do with this extra 2 blocks?
Do we do as a hash map, we go to the next available?
No. What we do in this case is we make some, there are of course techniques أخذته into في ICS 202, which I don't want to mention, صحيح? But what we do is عندك collision الحين, هذا نسميه collision حتى في الهاش, انت سموته collision, ما عاد تذكر ولا ايش. So it means a block, it cannot take 7, it can only take 5. So we already have 5. So what we have to do is we will have other blocks, which we call them overflow blocks. So I will find an empty block, which we call overflow blocks, ونروح نخزنهم الاثنين الزيادة هناك.
Randomly, without sorting.
Without sorting, there is no sorting, okay? We already made hashing. الحين لما عملنا hashing, they told us, okay, it is supposed to come here, صحيح? In block number 60. But block number 60 is full. So what I will do is I will take the next block, maybe block number 66, maybe فاضية ما عندهاش حاجة. So what I will do is here, I will put a pointer from block number 60 to block number 66. Are you with me? So what I will do is I will say block number 66 contains the extra what? The extra records which overflowed. Okay, what about if 66 is full type? Suppose عندي 13 ولا 14 جايين كلهم 60 maybe I used a very bad hash function معي ولا who doesn't distribute the records يعني evenly. What you should do is if this is full, again you must have another pointer to another block which is empty, maybe block number 33 is empty معي ولا. So here I will write block number 33.
Any empty block?
Any empty block, the operating system will give the DBMS, you will tell him, okay, Mr. DBMS, use this block is empty. So the DBMS will ask the operating system عشان يعطيه block. لأنه DBMS يعني always requested from the what? From the operating system to get blocks, and the blocks are totally controlled by the operating system. So definitely, and the OS knows which one is empty, which one is not empty. Okay.
And this is for all DBA, they do this solution?
For all what?
Is it this algorithm to find the next empty one? Is it for
Yes.
all of them? They all use this one?
Oh yeah, if you are using a static hash, خلاص, this is what will be done automatically by the DBMS. The algorithm is already written in again. Okay? Is that your question, Tariba?
Yeah, yes, okay.
Yes.
It's clear,
yes. Now let me take you a picture. Let me show you a picture. What I said, يعني I made it very simple طبعا, but let me show you a picture so that it will make it even clearer for you inshallah. Let me show you that, because overflow block is more than what I said. Let me show you the following. This is what I was talking about, okay, about the static hashing. So, hey, this is the array. This array contains block addresses. So let's say if we have m blocks that you want to store your data in, m blocks, then you will have your array goes, this array is m blocks, m entries, m entries. In fact, هنسميها هذه block address. شايف block address on disk موجود هنا. We call this one buckets. It's called an array, سميها arrays. هم هنا في الداتابيس نسميها a bucket. So how many buckets do I have? I have 20 buckets. شايفين? I have m buckets. Sorry, m buckets. Then what I will do is I will take every record. I will hash one of its attributes. You have to decide which attribute you want to use for hash function. You cannot change. If you say SSN, always use SSN. Then it will give you one of these numbers from 0 to m minus 1. Then if it comes here, if this is a number, if you get 2, معناته إيش? If you get 2, then take the disk block number هنا, which is this one here. So you will store your information, your row هناك في المحل هذا. هل هذه الصورة واضحة يا شباب what it's doing for you ولا not clear?
Yes, clear. inshallah.
Very good. But here he is
It's
not
clear, doctor, but yes,
Allow
what is the overload?
overflow.
Yeah, overflow.
I will show you overflow now. This is without overflow. Now with overflow, I will show you this. Now this is with overflow. Let's assume the following. Let's assume I have a bucket of how many here? Of 10. And the 10. From 0 to what? From 0 to 9 buckets. So number 0. So so bucket number 0, this is the disk block حقتها. Bucket number 0 معناتها هذا الديسك بلوك حقتها. معي ولا يا شباب؟ Bucket number 1 هذا الديسك بلوك حقتها. So he didn't show you this one. هو ما وراكم بس كتب لكم البلوك نمبر 0. Bucket number 1 عندها البلوك هذه. Bucket number 2 عندها البلوك هذه. Bucket number 9 عندها البلوك هذه. You can assume this can be block 500. This can be block 59. This can be block 27. It doesn't matter. أهم شيء the address of this block موجود في 0 موجود هنا. The address of this موجود في 1 موجود هنا. The address of this موجود هنا. Is this clear يا شباب? Before I go forward, before I talk about the overflow block ولا لا?
Yes,
So I have 10 blocks. block هذه والبلوك هذه والبلوك هذه والبلوك هذه وفي blocks ثانيين هنا ما نشافوا بس عندنا 10 blocks. So my bucket goes from 0 to 9. Now if you do your hash function using SSN, if it comes into 0, then you go to this disk block and you put it here. In fact, this is what he has done. This is what he has done. شوف عنده IDs. Suppose the ID, he's using ID هنا. Suppose 340 يا شباب. طبعا هنا he's using only 10 صحيح? So he will divide mode 10. معي ولا يا شباب? Mode 10. Are you with me? This will give me how much? This will give me how much? 0. شو عشان كده شفت 340 الريكورد جا هنا و460 الريكورد جا هنا. This is the SSN يا شباب. معي ولا ايه؟ 321 مود 10 حيعطيك 1. 761 مود 10 حيعطيك 1. 91 مود 10 حيعطيك 1. So that's why 321, 761, and 91, all of them they came here. What about if you finish by 2? Mode 10 will give you 2, 2, 2, 2. 22. Mode 10 will give you 2. So anything which you are, which maps to 2 حيكون في البلوك هذه. Anyone which maps to 1 حيكون في البلوك هذه. Any maps which 0 في البلوك هذه. Anyone who maps to 9 حيكون البلوك هذه. هل هذه واضحة يا شباب؟
Yes.
يعني doctor, the buckets are before the storing.
The buckets are, this is bucket simply is an array of what? Of disk block numbers. I don't know what this disk block number is. Suppose the disk block number is 59. معناته ايش؟ عندي 59 هنا موجود. which هو الزيرو هذا هو نفس الزيرو هذا. ال1 هذا هو نفس ال1 هذا.
يعني this is before storing. Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Before storing, you have to decide which blocks you are going to use. Yes, you have to decide that one. So before we stored, we already filled this 10 array of 10 elements, 10 blocks اخترنا, and from 0 to 9. Before storing, yes. Is this clear?
Yes, yes.
Your question is very important. Before storing, we decided that we are going to use 10 وحددنا 10 بلوكات اللي حنستخدمهم. أعطانا DBMS. He took it to the operating system and he goes this 10. So these 10 are ready now. So before we insert the first record, we have the 10. So we have 10 blocks which are empty, and we have an array of 10 elements, which contain what? Which contain the disk block number of those which are empty 10. اللي أعطانا الoperating system. Is this clear يا شباب؟
Yes.
Okay. Now I don't want you to look at these two. These two are the overflow blocks. هشرحهم بعد شوية. بس ركزوا الحين في العشرة هذول. العشرة هذول. If this is 59, this is block number 59. You will get bucket number 0, which is bucket number 0, which is block number 59. Suppose this one is block 15 مثلا, or block something يعني. So you will find 15 هنا. معناته this is block number 15. Maybe this is block number 305 مثلا. Maybe this is block 96 مثلا. So all the block numbers will be written here. 59 up to 96 will be written here, and this is 0, this is 9, which is 0 up to what? Up to 9. So I, instead of putting the array هنا خدتيناها لكم إياها هنا. هذا اعتبره كأنه array. معي ولا يا شباب؟
Yes, yes.
And these are the blocks. Okay, شوف الحين. We here in this diagram, he's assuming that the maximum that he can put in a block is only 3 records. After 3 records ما عندناش room. So every block can take 3. So هنا شوف الحين لو لاحظت هذه it only took 2 صحيح؟ This is 1, this is 2. So we still have a room for 1 more record. هنا we have 3 records already. SSN 321 record, الريكورد هنا 761. طبعا ما يوريك ال SSN هو، بس في هنا موجود الفيرست نيم واللاست نيم كله موجود يعني. But we are just showing the SSN يعني. So if you look at the SSN, you can assume this is already full يعني. So the record هنا, which is SSN 320 موجود هنا. Those who are 761 موجود هنا 91. So I have already 3 here. So this is full خلاص. هذه تعبت. This is still not full. صحيح؟ Let me put it NF not full. What about this one? This full يا شباب ولا لا؟
This one full.
Full.
Yes,
because
full.
we already have 3. Already عندنا 3. This is full. What about this?
Still 1.
Still we need more. 1, not full. Now, what happens is the following. What you should do in each block is you should keep a pointer here. So this pointer, when you have overflow, this pointer will point to the overflow record. معي ولا يا شباب؟ But if this is not overflow, عشان كده هتكون null. شوف هذا الحين, this is not null. This is not null because they are full and we have already other extra. But this is also not full, so this is null. So this is a pointer to the overflow block. So if you have overflow block, this will be a number, a pointer. So we will put a disk number here, disk block number here. Otherwise, we'll make it a null and null. Now let's assume the following now. Let's assume that I got another record whose SSN is 981, like this one. 981. جانا أول مرة ما كان موجود هنا. 981. Mode 10. This will give me how much يا شباب?
1.
1. So I'm supposed to put it in this block, صحيح?
Yes.
But this block is already full. So what do? So I will go to overflow block. This is an overflow. Also the DBMS will ask the هنا هيعطيه. Then automatically it will do what? The following. It will just take this pointer. It will put it into the overflow block, and then it will point. It will make a pointer هنا عشان يوريه overflow. فأول مرة كانت null, الحين حيكون البلوك نمبر حق هذه. I don't know what the block number. Let's assume the block number حق هذه هو 77 مثلا. So this will be 77. Not only the block, it will also tell him exactly in which block where the record is. So maybe it will take him 77 record number 1. So in fact, we don't have only the block pointer هنا, but عندنا برضو the block plus the record pointer. Because in a block can have 10 records. Are you sure? Or I can have 3 records, صحيح? So what we have here is not only the block address, also the record address.
وش هو الريكورد ادرس دكتور؟
ريكورد ادرس معناته ايش؟ ان بلوك يو هاف هاو ماني ريكوردز هنا عندك كم؟ عندك 3 صحيح ولا لا؟
ايوه.
So this is record number 1, record number 2, record number 3. So a block address معناتها it will point to the whole block, but it will not tell you where the record is in the block. معي ولا؟
okay.
But a record address will tell you two information. It will tell you which one is the block plus which one is the record in the block. ممكن أعطي example بتاعت العنوان بتاعت بيتكم. ممكن أقول لك إيش الحي حقك. صحيح؟ ساكن مثلا في حي مثلا صقبة. But in Suba there are so many houses, there are so many addresses of houses. صحيح؟ Then I can tell you, okay, in Suba في شارع الفلان الفلاني في بيت الفلان الفلاني. So I'm giving you much more address of where you exactly live. صحيح? The same thing here. If I tell you that this is just, if I just give you the block address, then you have to read this block, then you have to search for the record one by one. صحيح? But if I tell you, no, this is where exactly the record is in the block, then I don't have to search the other records. I will just directly go and find it. So it's much faster having a record address than having a block address. Because a block address, you will do some kind of searching. But a record address, you don't have to. You already know where the address is. So it's faster. Is this clear, Shabab?
Yes, Doctor. But now, so any extra elements are going to be stored like an array. So we have a pointer to the first overflow element, and that
so this is
element
this is just one pointer. This is just one pointer.
Yes, it will
Yes.
point for one element.
For one element,
yes.
Exactly.
And
very good.
If we have another employee, that overflow employee will point to the other employee.
I will tell you what happens now. Very good. Excellent. This is what happens. If you look at the structure هنا بتاعت البلوك الأوفرفلو بلوك يختلف من الستراكشر بتاعت النورمال blocks. The overflow blocks, they have record pointer. معناتها each record has a record pointer. Each record has a record pointer. Each record has a record pointer. This is how the overflow blocks are. But the normal blocks, they don't have overflow record. They don't have record pointers. عندهم بس record وrecord بس عندنا one pointer في الأخير فقط. So we have only one pointer. Now the reason they did that is the following. The reason they did that one is because they want to save time and number of blocks. Also, I will tell you why. For example, let's take a block number 182. Suppose I want to store 182. I want to store that. مثلا يعني. So take this mode 10. It will go to what? It will go to bucket number كم? Bucket number 2, صحيح? So this is bucket number 2. So bucket number 2, so it's already full. عندي 22 already قبل كده قريته 72 52. So I don't have space for 182. So what do? I will take this pointer somehow. I will put it here. Suppose this was أول هذا كان ما كان فيه ولا حاجة. الحين جاتني 182. So I need to store it. So أخذتها في overflow block. لقيت محل فاضي في overflow block. So I saved it into the overflow block. شوف. The overflow block can save 182, can save 981, anything which overflow block, it will go to this one. Any overflow block will go to this block. So we don't have many overflow blocks. We'll start with one overflow block. When that one overflow block is full, then we will have a second overflow block and so on. يعني. So what will happen, let's assume in the beginning this was not full. So أخذنا الريكورد هذا وديناه خزناه هنا and then we put the its address in this block هنا. بعد شوية جانا 652. So 652 mod 2 will give you how much يا شباب? Will also give you 2 صحيح? So it's supposed to be with these guys, but this is full block. So what do? We take a pointer هذا نشوف هذا. Then I found out this block is also full. خلاص وصلنا 182 is the last third record. So what do? We go to a new block. نخط ال 652 another second overflow block. This was the first overflow block. عبى خلاص. We have a second overflow block. And then what do? From 182 we make a pointer to the next, which is 652. So those who finish with 2222, they will all be linked like a linked list. Those who finish with 111 will be linked also to each other. Those who finish with 333, they will be linked with each other. So we will have a linked list of records. So those who are going to come to 321, and if they go to overflow blocks, all of them will be linked to each other, and so on. So we have a linked list of records which are supposed to map into the same bucket. Is this point clear, Shabab?
Yes, clear.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we call static hashing. We call it static because we limited the buckets to be 10 وخلاص. Then if you have any extra, this is fully created an overflow bucket. So أي حاجة تعبت وديها على overflow bucket, على overflow bucket. When this overflow bucket is full, create another overflow bucket and ودي هناك. But what you should do is link those who finish with one بعد those finish with. شفت الحين هذا عشان هذا 2 هذا 2 he links them together. What about if I get now, let's say 731? What shall I do? Tell me يا شباب. Mode.
You look for the mode choose one.
981.
هناخدها فين؟ هناخدها هنا. معايا ولا ايه؟
But it will come from the record photo.
Exactly. But this guy has to what? Has to point to who?
Yes.
To him. And this will be what? Null. لغاية ما يجينا واحد تاني. So this is how it works. Is this clear?
And if something comes with a mode with a remainder of 3, it will go to the empty.
Exactly. If you remainder with 3, لو عندنا هنا 3 we don't have a problem. عندنا
it's
عندنا لا مش 3. قول 1 صحيح؟
I mean no if it was full 3 for example.
If 3 was full خلاص الحين معناتها we have to go and put maybe in هنحطها هنا هذه فاضية صحيح؟
You will put it here or on the first.
ها؟
Isn't that
هذه تعبت خلاص ما عندهاش سبيس. هذا اللي عندها سبيس.
between 981 and 182 there's a space.
No assume this was full and already it was already full. هذا بس في غلط هنا. It's already full assume يعني.
Okay.
So this is full totally full اعتبرها يعني بس ما اخذتها لك هنا المفروض اخذتها بعد شفتها واخذتها هنا بعدين اخذتها هنا معناتها this is full. Okay.
Okay.
So assume this is full يعني فيها already something يعني. Okay. هل هذا
if there was a search this will be I mean
very expensive.
Very expensive.
That's why you have to have a very good hash function والا هيعمل لك a lot of what او كمان زيد عدد الباكيتس يعني زودها يعني 10 يمكن مش كويس. خلي عندك زياده لو عندك overflow blocks هذا هيتعبك يعني. You're right. Okay يا شباب. مثلا if I'm very stupid and if I use for this for KVPM students what do you think will happen? الاي دي بتاع طلاب الجامعه.
It will work fine.
No, it will not work. If I use this one, all of you will come here.
Yeah.
Why? صح.
Isn't it?
As an ID because every time increases 1. So if it is like from 0 to 10, it would be like sorted evenly, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the problem is if I use this hash function للاي دي حقت الطلاب الجامعه البترول كلكم الاي دي حقكم يخلص بزيرو.
ينتهي بزيرو. The mod will always be 0.
Always will be 0. So it means I will make a lot of overflow blocks كلكم يعني حتكون كان صار linear search بقى. Isn't it?
I think it's worse.
Yes.
This is what I meant. Sorry, I didn't. انت ما عرفت قصدي في البدايه. But this is what I meant يعني. So you must have a very good hash function. So you have to look. Maybe if it is KVPM, what I will do is first of all I will divide by 10 ولا حاجة, and then what? And then I use maybe the mode function يعني. At least I remove the 0 all the time. معي ولا؟
Or don't use mode 10. Put more than 10 buckets.
Yes, exactly. Maybe you have to use the number of زود عدد الباكيتس يعني. Don't use only 10 يعني.
Yes.
Can we use it without the mode? Like just if he's 2016, he goes to block 6, something like that.
Very good. This is another hash function. Very good. We'll talk about the other hash functions برضه. هنتكلم عن dynamic hash function. Dynamic معناته ايش؟ ما تحدد لي هم 10 من البداية. We'll start with 1 first. Then as if we need more, we add, and we add, and we add. So the number of buckets will do what? Will depend on the number of records اللي عندك. هذا بسموه dynamic hashing. Remember I mentioned we have static hashing and dynamic hashing?
Yes.
So
yes.
we have a solution. Don't worry. We'll talk about it in my next class.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Barakallah. Any question?
No, thank you, Doctor.
Attendance. معلش. Attendance. Thank you. Before I forget. Yeah. Any question يا شباب? Thank you very much. If you don't have any question. Okay. Oh, the time's already over. Okay.